Ladies and gentlemen, I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel. Now, we are going to look at the K91. It's a tank that I don't really play too often. I haven't made a video on it for quite a while, to be honest. So I thought, you know what, I see it in the store like a while ago or however long ago, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do an updated video. So what is the K91 really like? What is it? How does it play? And how does it compare to other tier 9 heavy tanks? So of course there are some very good tier 9 heavy tanks in the game. You've got the E75, you've got the ST, you've got the IS8, you've got the Object 752, and many more. How does the K91 fit in there? Now it's a very difficult tank because parts of it are very good, but then other parts of it is very weak. So of course it is a Russian heavy and it is an auto loader. So it has 3 shells. The armor profile is kind of weird, and if you can see the turret, it does sort of dip in at the front. Now those are weak points. Now of course you can get your turret, your armor a bit more if you do wiggle your gun, but overall I don't think the armor profile on this is fantastic. You can get penetrated a lot of times. Now I was slightly annoyed in playing this tank because every single battle I had trying to get this footage, I was bottom tier. So every single game I played against tier 10, which isn't a problem with a lot of tanks, but this is where I'm going to compare it to some of the other tanks in tier 9. Now, some of the other tanks, like the E75 and the Object 752, etc., they play absolutely fine in tier 10, and there's some tanks where I sit there and I don't even care. Like some tanks I prefer to be in a tier 10 game because it just means more damage. You know, there's more hit points up for grabs. However, with the K91, I kind of feel that it doesn't play so well in tier 10, and there's not many heavy tanks in tier 9 that I can sit there and think, yeah, that is shit in tier 10. But the K91 is one of those that don't perform so well when you are up against tier 10s. However, you put this tank up against tier 8s and it becomes a much better tank, and you can get some bounces, you can get damage. Overall, it's not too bad, but only when you are up against tier 8s. So as you can see, the turret 220, the hull is 120. So don't expect any bounces on your hull. In fact, it is actually very weak. Your DPM 2,697, so not the best of DPMs, but that's not bad. That's not bad for an auto loading tank. You've got a magazine reload of 16.3, shell reload of 3.5, and again you've got 3 shells in your magazine. So straight off the bat, I would turn around and say, right, to make this tank a little bit better, because I do think it needs something, maybe a stronger turret, maybe if you don't want to give it the armor profile, lower the shell reload time to around 2.5, maybe. Like, yes, I'm talking 2.5, because you've got other tanks out there now that can do that. You know, look at the AMX 50B, the T57, and things like that. And these are the tanks that you're coming up against. The FE 4005. All these auto loaders that have mega good intraclip reload, that's what this tank I think could do with having. So instead of 3.5 seconds, either lower that by a second or give it more alpha, because you only have 350 alpha to go with that. So waiting 3.5 seconds and then, you know, 350 alpha. And when you're up against tier 10s, there is a lot of tanks that you won't be able to penetrate. So your penetration is 260. I mean, the penetration isn't so bad if you're running it with calibrated shells. So 260 on your AP and 341 on your heat, which is perfectly acceptable for a tier 9 tank. Again, you've got 350 alpha on your AP, 300 on your heat, and 420 on your HE. Aim time is 3.7, so nothing special, not that great if I'm honest, and your dispersion is 0.326, and it has 7 degrees of gun depression with a top speed of 40 kilometers per hour. So stat-wise, I mean, it's not bad. The stats are not like absolutely terrible, but I just feel that the tank itself could do with a bit of love. You know, when this tank was first introduced into the game, like, it really was poor. when it was, I mean, before it was for sale, when it was during test. Like we tested this tank, and I think the traverse, things like that was very, very bad. And Wargaming did adjust that a little bit before they released, so it did make it a little bit better. But I just think the tank that this now comes up against really doesn't do that well. I mean, that was a very troll bounce from me, my own fault. Because I bounced a tank that has the highest DPM in the game, then yeah, I mean, I've just lost half of my hit points. And when I'm in a tier 9, I really don't want to come up against an Object 268 version 4. So I'm backing up whilst I'm on my reload. But again, like I said, it does have decent pen on your heat, so you are going to be able to penetrate those higher tier tanks, just like we did there with the Object. But yeah, that's pretty much all this tank's got. I mean, it is low to the ground, and again, you can get some bounces, but it's very, very rare, and you just can't rely on your armor profile for this tank. Now, when this does come for sale, you're probably looking at around 10,000 damage. 10,000 gold damage. Bloody hell, I wish. You're looking at about 10,000 gold. So nothing like too major. 10,000 gold for a tier 9 tank. Yeah, I can live with that. That's not bad. And again, I'm not saying it's a bad tank by all means. I'm not saying it is an awful tank. It can perform well. It has some advantages, but I just think there's certain things that I would love to change. Owning the tank, and if I was going to buy the tank again, if I didn't own it, there's just certain things that I would have liked to see different. And I think the intro clip, 3.5 seconds nowadays and age, is a little bit too much. With the lower alpha as well, I mean, unless you're going to up the alpha to sort of maybe the 400 mark, I think 3.5 seconds for a 350 alpha gun, it isn't the best. But as always, like any other autoloader, given the chance, then you can get some damage, and you can get block damage. I mean, we got like what, 2,000 or whatever it was there, almost 2,000 block damage, and it was very, very easy. So I don't think we're doing anything special this game. I think we actually get wrecked, so I don't think there's any reason to show this game. In fact, I think I end up dying. But let's just see. But let's just talk about the tank. Let's just close up whilst we are watching this the end of this replay. So overall, is it worth the gold? 10,000 gold when it does come for sale. As I've said, that is acceptable. It's not like it's a poor tank that's overpriced. It's an average tank that is average price, and if you want it, you can have it. If you don't, then you're not missing out. You're not missing out. If you don't own the tank, you're not missing out. And nowadays and age, back a couple of years ago, I used to buy pretty much every single premium tank that I could in the game. But nowadays, I do look at premium tanks and think, am I going to play the tank? Am I going to sit there? Am I going to get my money's worth? So a lot of the tanks I'm not going to play. But am I going to get my money's worth from that tank? If it's 10,000 gold, am I going to get 100 plus battles in the tank? Sadly, for the K91, no, I'm probably not. I'm not going to lie. I'm probably not going to sit there. If I sit there and I want to play tier 9, the K91 isn't even on my list. Like, I don't ever look at the K91 thinking, I will play that tank. There is plenty of other tanks out there that are much better than the K91. But if you're a collector, it's not a bad tank to have in your garage, you know, if you do fancy playing it, but it's just not for me. And I just think nowadays and age, it isn't the greatest. But you know, you guys might have a different opinion. Some of you guys might absolutely love it. You know, I'm not saying it's a bad tank by all means. I'm not saying it's a fantastic tank. I just think it is an average tank. It is balanced, so it is quite balanced. But I just think Wargaming could do just a little bit more for the tank, whether that give it a little bit more alpha or lower the reload, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you like the tank? If you don't, what would you like to see change with the K91? So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. If you did, hit that subscribe button. I'm Meadsy, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye bye. With